In the spring, the Maquis glows with hundreds of colours, odours and scents. Broom, lavenders, aromatic thymes, mastic trees. The Maquis contains over 100 species which people have always made use of by picking the red fruits of the strawberry tree, the myrtle, which people still make into wine, rosemary, the everlasting flower, and wild honey. When summer is at its height, most of these plants lose their leaves in order to retain every last drop of water. Transformed into pure essences, the danger is then from the violence of fire, which can't be stopped once the wind joins in.
The Cap Corse is a windy region. There are 300 days of wind per year, with the prevailing wind, the libeccio, which blows, if you take the average over 10 years, it blows for 160 days per year. The wind speeds are over 100 kilometers per hour, with gusts up to 160, 180 kilometers per hour. And when a fire starts in that wind, it starts on the ridges, starts on the western slope, and sweeps down the eastern slope, and then you can't stop it. But fortunately, the sea is there, otherwise we'd set fire to Europe.
On the 31st of July 1989, fires in Corsica extended to areas of Bastia. 13,000 hectares of vegetation went up in smoke, and with them, the best olive trees in Balagna and their Nebbio. The whole economy of the region, which depended on olive oil, collapsed. In the 1990s, a few producers started working again, and today, Corsican olive oil is rising again from the ashes.
The olive tree is the symbol. It's the symbol of Corsica, of the Mediterranean, of every religion. It's the everlasting tree. So everyone has always had the olive tree as a symbol since time immemorial. It's a tree that can survive anything but fire and humans. It lives for thousands of years, and it can't be destroyed. Look at the trunks. You'd say they were characters who've suffered their whole lives. They're twisted by the weather, by blows, by lightning, everything that has happened to them over the centuries. And they've resisted. They grow again. It's incredible. They have an amazing zest for life. This is the work of generations over 600, 1,000 years. You can see what it's taken to get this tree, and then for it to burn. And you can see this twisted trunk with holes in it. If you clean it up the next year, it will still give you olives, even though it was neglected for 70 or 80 years. It's incredible to see that strength.
Charles Moratti is an olive oil producer in the Nebbio, in the village of Santo Pietro di Tenda. On his land, the harvest is gathered in the Corsican way, which means leaving the olives to ripen fully until they're black and they drop of their own accord into nets suspended around the olive trees. The olives never touch the ground, and therefore have minimal acidity.
They hide their oil on the surface. If you touch them like this with your fingers, you're covered in oil. In Santo Pietro, we used to say it means when the olives ripen so they can be gathered, Santo Pietro is a very nice village. But if the olives fall early, so there are no olives, there'll be hunger, plague, and war. That says it all. That was the main source of wealth.
A unique terroir for olive trees, Corsica has revived its real know-how in the last few years. Olio di Corsica is now the name for a good quality oil, a sweet and fruity oil like the one Charles Moratti produces. In the hamlet of Terrarosa, there's a watermill that doesn't want to grow old. Since 1660, it has been grinding olives and chestnut flour with the same passion. The Scartabelli brothers, the last millers of Cap Corsa, keep it working in memory of their father.
For me, this mill has lots and lots of memories, and to see it working again like this, one person up there will be very happy, and that's my father. He was very attached to this mill, and the owner was also very attached to it. There's somewhere around. It's true that I sometimes yell at him when I'm here and I'm having troubles with the flour. I mention the flour because it's very tricky. I say to myself, damn, what would he have done? And I try to remember some of his gestures because it's not always easy. But this mill is the past, the present, and I hope it'll also be a bit of the future. It's not work, it's a vocation, a passion. These baskets that I have here, they're called escortins. Actually, they're filters. We put the pulp in there, and afterwards we put it under the press. And when we fill them, we try to fill them very evenly, without any spaces, so that they keep their shape well. Sometimes they can slip with the pressure. We do go up to 40 tons of pressure.
At the mill in Terrarosa, it's the whole life of the hamlet that comes here for a few litres of olive oil or a few kilos of chestnut flour. Around the Scartabelli brothers, each pressing in the season is a celebration and a way of being together and sharing these simple moments, as people used to do.
If tomorrow no one brings anything to feed this mill, the mill won't speak anymore. It won't feed. It will be permanently closed. And then someone says to me, I've got 10 kilos of corn. I prepare the mill, I clean the millstones, I put it all back together, and then I call him. It's done in 20 minutes. But at least the mill is alive. It's working. It's here and it's still alive.
Oui, oui,
Sono buginate di pasta.
oui, oui. Tu peux les enlever. Tu peux les enlever.
There's no tree in Corsica more emblematic than the sweet chestnut. It even grows on the slopes of San Petroni, the highest peak in Castagnici. Chestnut trees as far as the eye can see, in a region which takes its name from the tree. The habitat and the environment are entirely shaped by the cultivation of chestnuts.
You're now in Ampugnani, which is one of the micro-valleys of Castagnicia. It's called Little Castagnicia, Vecorit.
In Castagnicia, chestnut cultivation was imposed on Corsicans by the Genoese in the 16th century. 35,000 hectares of chestnut trees allowed generations of Corsicans to live and even save them from famine.
Some chestnut trees are enormous. I've seen one chestnut tree with a circumference of 18 meters. In winter, when they've lost their leaves, I feel as if they're skeletons watching me. But huge skeletons, the way we saw them when we were kids, in our dreams, and they scared us a bit. But everything depended on chestnuts, people and animals. Chestnuts were the mainstay. There was flour for the humans, but also flour for the animals. I love everything about chestnut trees. I think they're all beautiful. It's the way they stand. They look like giants with their arms stretched up towards the sky, and we're very small beside them. But they're going to grow even bigger with a bit of work we're doing to maintain them. They'll develop a bit more.
Jean-Mathieu, a pig breeder, and Jean, retired from the National Forestry Service, spend their time renovating a chestnut grove to feed their pigs and to make chestnut flour.
They've been neglected for decades. If you only look at the ivy, it's a parasite, so if we remove it, that's already something.
The job is huge, because almost the whole of Castagnicia is now in this state of neglect.
But I can tell you that these trees have fed an awful lot of people since they've been here. We're trying to preserve what we can by doing a little. But I don't know if we'll be able to pass on what you see here, what our ancestors handed down to us.